Let's talk about a company called ESSCOM and a three-letter acronym you probably think you know, ESS. But here's the thing, what if I told you it doesn't stand for what you think it does? We're about to dive into a story that's not really about batteries, but about a 35-year-old vision for something way bigger, a whole system for energy saving and safety. Let's get into it.
So let me ask you, when I say ESS, what's the first image that pops into your head? For pretty much everyone, especially if you're in the energy world, it's one very specific thing.
And yeah, that thing is the energy storage system. You know, big batteries, power walls, massive grid-scale units that store electricity for later. And you're not wrong. That's what it means to most of the world today. But that's not the whole story. It's not even the original story. To get to the real origin of this, we need to jump in a time machine and go back, way back. We're talking about 35 years ago, to a time before ESS was even a buzzword, all dreamed up by one person.
So picture this. It's the early 1990s. ESSCOM's chairman, Lee Jae-young, is looking at the world and sees something that almost nobody else does. He predicts this absolute explosion in how much energy we're all going to use. And he realized that with all that power, electrical safety would become one of the most important issues of our time. And, well, look around. He was dead on.
And this, right here, is the absolute key to the whole story. See, before the world was even thinking about storing energy, Chairman Lee defined something totally different. He actually trademarked the letters ESS, but not for energy storage. No, for him, it stood for Energy Saving and Safety System. He didn't just invent a product, he literally defined and branded a future standard before anyone else even knew we'd need it.
So let's be super clear. The original ESS vision isn't just a box with batteries in it. It's this incredibly smart, comprehensive system, a mix of hardware and software that's built to manage, save, and secure a building's entire electrical system. It's less like a power bank and more like a central nervous system for your building's electricity. It optimizes everything and, maybe more importantly, stops disasters before they can even start. That puts it in a whole different league.
Okay, so having a great vision is one thing. But actually getting that vision turned into an official, industry-wide, government-approved standard? Wow. That is a whole different ballgame. Let's look at how they pulled it off. This right here is the proof. This isn't just marketing fluff. What you're looking at is an official document certifying ESSCOM's system as a brand new electric power technology. And the most important part, it was written directly into South Korea's official building energy code. It wasn't just approved, it became a part of the official rule book for construction. Now, a standard is useless if nobody uses it, right? Well, this wasn't just a rule sitting on a shelf. This system got put to the test by some of the biggest and most demanding clients you could possibly imagine. We're talking about places like the Incheon International Airport and the high-tech heart of Samsung's R&D center. That's some serious real-world proof right there.
And you better believe, when you have an idea this groundbreaking, you protect it. The whole system, the brand, the technology, it's all surrounded by a fortress of intellectual property. We're talking patents and certifications, not just in Korea, but in the US, China, and Japan too.
So the system got a huge stamp of approval at home. But just recently, this 35-year-old vision got this incredible validation on the global stage. And this time, it came in the form of cold, hard cash.
$20 million. Let that sink in for a second. That is the amount an investor recently paid for just 5% of the company. Now that number is obviously huge, but it's the story behind the number that's truly mind-blowing.
Okay, get this. This line is pulled directly from the investment contract, the legal document. Now, I don't know how many investment contracts you've read, but they almost never ever explicitly name the personal potential of the founder as a key asset. Contracts value patents, profits, market share, not the inventor's vision. It's just not done.
The sources call Chairman Lee a civilization designer, not just an engineer. And that's exactly what this investment was about. It wasn't a bet on a product. It was a bet on the person, on the proven, almost prophetic foresight of the guy who saw where the world was headed 3 decades before the rest of us.
And the global story doesn't stop there. But now we're talking about governments. What you're looking at is called an apostille. It's basically an official international certification that makes a document legit in other countries. This one's from Bolivia, and it signals a massive jump from a corporate standard to a national one.
And we are not talking about a small test run here. Bolivia is adopting ESSCOM's technology as the national standard for a gigantic housing project. The goal?
to put this system into 1 million homes. 1 million! This is what it looks like when a technology literally becomes part of a country's infrastructure.
Okay, so let's recap. We've got a 35-year-old prediction that came true. Official government certification, adoption by huge corporations, and now massive international validation from another country. So, how on earth do you put a price tag on a company like that? Your typical spreadsheets and metrics just don't work. You need a whole new way of thinking about it.
The source material gives it a name, an origin intellectual asset. What does that mean? Well, think of it like this. It's one thing to invent a better mousetrap. It's another thing entirely to own the word mousetrap. ESSCOM didn't just play the game better, they invented the game, wrote the rules, and named it, long before anyone else showed up to play.
Here's a way to think about it. For brands like Gucci or Coca-Cola or Rolex, the value isn't just in the product itself. The name is the asset. The brand is the value. The argument here is that ESSCOM has basically done the same thing, but for a fundamental piece of global technology. The brand itself has become the standard.
And that really brings us to the final critical point. If you try to value ESSCOM based on its sales last quarter, you are completely missing the picture. Its real value is in owning a foundational piece of our future energy infrastructure, a standard that's being written into the blueprints of our buildings and the policies of nations.
So I'll just leave you with this question to chew on. How do you actually calculate the value of an idea? An idea so ahead of its time that it took the rest of the world 35 years to finally understand it. That right there is the story of ESSCOM.